Hi, and welcome to another episode of Discovering Our Gifts. I'm Jeannie, and with me today are my cousins Lenny and Ani. On today's episode, we'll be discussing mediumship, what it is, the different ways it manifests, and our experiences with mediumship abilities. We hope you will enjoy this discussion.
So sometimes spirit will speak in the form of visions. So you'll get pictures of people, places, sometimes objects like jewelry, clothing, furniture. They had like a favorite chair and stuff like that. Sometimes you'll see them doing things in your visions, and it all gives you a clue as to who they are and what they're trying to get across to you.
Mhm.
And everybody, from everything that I've read, different spirits can give you different symbols, and even though they're trying to tell you the same thing. And you may see places that they were had a connection to when they were alive, like a certain park, a tourist place that they used to love to go to and things like that. You'll get all those types of visions in your mind.
I um I received what was my first like vision like that, because I dream, like I have a lot of, I'm always dreaming, and I have a lot of symbolic dreams and dreams with messages, all kinds of messages in it. But recently, I'd say about a month or two ago, my dreams changed, and they changed drastically. Like, I'm an epic dreamer, or I call it chaos, my chaos dreams, where there's a lot going on in these dreams. Um, but they changed, and they became, now they're all mixed. But for a while there, they completely changed to, for example, and it's the one that I guess would apply to this episode in particular. I saw what I would assume it was a guy, it was a male. He reminded me of um like a cartoon figure, but I, I guess the one in the tarot guy. I
Mhm.
call him the tarot guy because it's the closest thing I can think of that it looks like. And he was an all black figure. He had his hair was like combed like this and then curled in, like, those wigs that they used to wear back in the day. But and then the way that it was like a black streak, a white streak, a black streak, a white streak, a black streak, and a white streak. And then so he was all white. He had a black shirt, and then he had a black blindfold. But he was presented to me like on a card. That's why I call him like a tarot card. But like, those characters in the card. But and then it scared the living daylights out of me because I was laying on my side and I felt something like watching me, and I could feel it because I can feel them. So I
Hate
could
that
like,
feeling.
yeah, I could feel that, like, their energy, like right on my face. And as soon as I turned my head, it was like right there in my face. And like, I don't know if it was in my dream or if it's a vision or what it was, but I screamed, and it popped out from from where it was, but it was a clear black heart. And it was weird because it was like looking at me, and it was like right there. So, and I screamed in, I don't know, wherever I was, but in real life, I was like, the guy's like, oh my God. And I sat up in bed and I was like, I went back to sleep. And then I thought about it and I was like, what if, this is spirit trying to communicate with me or whatever. And I told him, I was like, please don't scare me. Take it little by little and be
Yeah.
patient with me. 2 days later, I saw him again, but I saw him really far away from me. The same thing, but really far away from me. And then it was like, okay, let's say it's this, right? So he was like this, and then I would see him like this, And then I would see him like this, but always like looking at me. And it was kind of like, but in the card figure, and he was moving around, and it was the weirdest thing. But I was like, he's trying not to scare me. That's why he went that far away. Like he was really far away from me when I was seeing him. But yeah, my dreams changed from really chaotic, weird dreams to that. And that I call those my visions. I'm able to, now I know the difference between my dreams and what's presented to me in visions. And that was one of them, a really good example of my vision, my very first visions, I would say.
I realized when I going to sleep, I have a lot of visions, but I don't understand what is it. So at the first time, I was a little scared because I'm trying to sleep. So it was like when you're going to sleep and you close your eyes, it was like that. And I saw people like, for example, like on a picture size, like a license picture size, something like that, like shoulders up. And I saw like faces, different faces. And when I saw that, when I closed my eyes and I saw a person or a guy, I saw why I have the image on my mind of a person I don't know. And it was weird for me. And I was like, boy, like, what is that? So I was like, I want to sleep, but that's something, a little scared because I never see that people before. And when I say that, I have another face on my mind, another faces and faces, like a change the pictures. It was like a pictures.
A picture reel.
Yeah. And it was weird. And at the first time when I realized that, I was a little scared because I don't know where it's come from. Because I say, that's weird because I never see that face before. But that's what I noticed. I saw spirits, you know, because I say that's something weird because it was like a for me, it was like a line of a spirit trying to connect with me for some reason that I don't know. But I was so tired at night. I was so tired at night, and I was so tired to see faces, the people that I don't, seen before in my life. And I was so tired about that. And I remember I say, no, you know what? I want to sleep. And they have to respect. I say, go. In my mind, I say, go. I don't know you. But I don't know it was the spirits. But I say that to my mind because, it was like scared. And sometimes I pray. Sometimes I prayed, because it was very um weird for me. And at the next night, the same thing every night for a long time ago. But I don't know what is it. So when I'm trying to find information about the spiritual world, I understand that that happened to me at night when I'm going to sleep. I see spirits and they try to connect with me. But you have to, if you don't want to connect with people who you don't know, you have to control everything. So I found that, I think, on the Medium Mentor, the book, Mary Ann DeMarco, right?
Mhm.
And she said, when the spirit tries to connect with you at night and you have to sleep, you have to respect, and you have to put like your boundaries, and
Boundaries,
you
yeah.
have to put at the door, yes, um do not disturb, like a sign when you're going to the hotel. So I'm trying to do that, and it's worked for me. And when I notice a spirit try to connect with me, I say to my mind, I'm trying to sleep. You have to respect, because sometimes I can sleep during the whole night because I saw spirits in my mind, like pictures. So when I noticed it was a spirit, I was very surprised because I don't know where it's come from. I don't understand anything about that. But it was like how you say te molesta, molestoso, me molesta.
Bothersome.
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 Yeah, that. So imagine you try to sleep and you put your head on your pillow, and when you close your eyes, you see people.
That's
So
exactly what it felt like. That.
was so I was very frustrated, believe me, for a long time. But I don't know. It was a spirit trying to connect with me. I don't know that.
Mhm.
For me, I think it was, I don't know, something cuckoo on my mind. So when I read, and when I found information, and I know, and I read, it was that the spirit tried to connect with you. I was like, oh my God. So that's happened to me. And oh, it, it make me feel like it was a bad night for me, a bad night. But now I try to control, you know, everything before I sleep. I try to put the not do not disturb. I try to imagine to put a sign out at the door. And if I feel something, and if I saw something in my mind, I say, this is my time to sleep, and I need to sleep. So you have to respect. So you have an emergency, a very important message, you can do that. But you can wake me up all the time because I have a life. But if something happened, if something like that happened to me, something happened to you, it's a spirit trying to connect with you. It sounds crazy, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I have a line, spirits on the line, tried to talk with me. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know you. You have to go. I don't know you. You have to go. Who is it? In my mind, who is it? I don't know you. I never see you before. That's and I was talking. And I say, oh, I was so tired. And I say, you have to go. Go. Like a dog.
Have you had anything like that, Lenny?
Yeah. I I guess I'd been having visions periodically throughout my life, and I thought it was my imagination, random thoughts and stuff like that. Um, and it wasn't until Marjorie that I realized like the things that I've been seeing in my mind's eye were actually real. Um, so me and Jeannie were actually on Zoom, and we were working on podcast stuff or something. I can't remember exactly. And all of a sudden I had that sensation, which we'll get into what it feels like when spirit's around for certain people, like all the different ways. Um, I had that sensation that spirit was around. And at that time, Jeannie and I had worked our way through our fears to try and connect with the actual spirit we were sensing around, to try and get put our handle on our gifts and not be afraid so much. So she tells me, connect, let's try to connect. And I did. And I closed my eyes. It was the first time, it wasn't the first time I tried to connect, but it was the first time I tried to connect with spirit that I had no idea who it was, because I've said before, like, one of the frustrating things about getting visitations by spirit was if I didn't know them, I didn't know what they wanted. I can't help you. I can't communicate with you or anything like that. Um, and this time I was actually able to. So closed my eyes and I started getting visions and like pictures in my mind. And the best way I could describe it, the way I see them, is have you ever like when you get a picture, your picture taken and that flash of light bulb, that big bright light goes off, and then you'll see like an imprint in your vision of like whatever was by the light. Like you might see an imprint of the person that was standing behind the light bulb because the flash in your vision. Or if you look at the sun too long, and when you look away, you see that imprint of a ball of light in your vision. That's what they look like to me, like imprints of vision. Um, and I started trying to connect. I asked, "Who are you?" I can't remember all the questions I was asking, but basically, she gave me her name and it came through in big block letters. And then I could see her in my mind's eye. And she was wearing a hair covering and she was a much older woman. She was wearing an apron. And she kept walking around the property, the land by where I live. Like she kept walking back and forth like she was looking for something or trying to take care of something in the yard. And I have a big line of trees behind our property, and I could see the line of trees. Like I could see her walking back and forth in front of the trees and all of that. And Jeannie was telling me, ask her this or ask her that. And I wrote down like a bunch of the stuff that I got through from her. I knew that her husband had passed before her and he had moved on peacefully, but he was still there waiting for her and everything. What else? So then, like the next day, I started looking up the information for anyone who could be near me because she kept specifically showing me the land around me. And sure enough, I found a woman whose name was Marjorie, and she lived 5 doors down from my house. She used to own all the land around it here. Her and her husband, who had passed before her, owned a land operations company or something like that. I found her obituary. She's her obituary said that she loved to cook and stuff like that, which was why she was wearing an apron in the vision. Um, and I don't think I had gotten much more that night. And I tried to connect with her again while I was out on my riding lawnmower, and I was able to connect with her again. And she told me things she was frustrated by, but it was some things that I couldn't help her with, and I had to have like this, and I know it sounds so weird, but I had to have like this whole conversation with her, like, you have to understand, and I can't just do this or that or she hasn't come around since. After we had like this long conversation where I was telling her, you need to let go, you need to move on, you need this, you need that. I haven't felt her since. And that was one of those things where Marion, the market, like had she had a message for her family and her family had not asked for the message, I shouldn't have given her the family the message. That was, one of those situations where you can't always give those messages. But yeah, the obituary and knowing where she lived and verifying that I was actually seeing her walk on the land, that all those things I've been seeing in my mind's eye for all these years were real. They weren't just my imagination. And I felt so weird trying to connect. If I felt silly, but then once I was like the images started coming through, they didn't stop and they didn't stop. So it was one of my favorite experiences because it let me know A, I can communicate, B, I do have visions, C, if I'm ever afraid because I can't tell who they are, I now have a way to figure it out. Um, it's not something that I'm gonna try and constantly do all the time, but it was just like such a needed affirmation that everything I'd been experiencing all these years was real. And yes, I can communicate with them, which is a long way from running from them, like I always have. Yeah.
And, and if you, the thing that I learned is if you do talk to your spirit guides or the angels or whoever it is that you believe in, they will help you. Like they will, like when I ask them to be patient with me and, you know, to bear with me because, I'm a little bit scared about it, but I'm working on it. I felt like they understood me. And I mean, at one point, I could sense someone in the car with me. And so I tried, I connected and what they gave me was an apple. And I'm like, an apple? Like I didn't, I was like, an apple. And then what I saw was a red apple. Like I saw a grainy image of a red apple in my head. And I'm like, maybe it's their name. I don't know, because some people are named Apple or something. And then, but it was a red apple. And I was like, a red apple. I was like, red. Every single car that passed me right after that was red. I'm talking about 6 or 7 cars. One right after the other were red, all red, apple red, candy apple red, all the cars. It was like, are these people all in a group of red cars or something? But it was just one right after the other. And I was in a back country road where not a lot of cars go through all the time. I wasn't on a highway or anything. And it was 6 or 7 cars, one right after the other, all candy apple red. So they will give you, I think they'll help you out a little bit, like work with you and to get you where you need to be. If you ask for guidance, I guess
Yes, they
that's the way.
will.
That's the how when you know something or like you received information, you kind of absorb it. That's what I've gotten from it. Like that's the that's the feeling that they've left with me is that
The
or the
overall
knowing.
message.
Yes, is that, that they're working with me little by little, like trying to get me over that hump, I guess.
Yeah. Then you
Yeah.
got your smells, your taste, like you could taste things, smell things, perfumes,
That would fall
foods,
under,
flowers,
which is
herbs,
Claire Gustance and Claire Aliens, right?
aliens. Yep. And those things are also clues about who they are. Like Marion in her book, Medium Mentor, she talks about the pizza guy. She kept hearing pizza, 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 and it was because the family that the spirit belonged to owned a family-owned pizza restaurant, and that's why he kept saying pizza, pizza, pizza. And she could taste it and she could smell it and all that stuff.
Yeah, she
So,
thought it was that she wanted a pizza and she was gonna get
yeah.
one afterwards, right? I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't had aliens or goose dance smell or taste. I know you have.
Yeah, I've had both. Claire, as I've mentioned before in our Claire's episode, which I invite you to see if you haven't already. Um, in Claire Aliens, I'm sorry, which is smell. I've been having that gift all my life, and it's the one I'm very vocal about. And you normally just don't realize that other people can't smell what I'm smelling. Um, with I think my most recent scent was peaches. I was smelling peaches and it was this very clear, fresh, ripe peaches. And I now know that it's spirit around me. And I was trying to see if I could sense or feel anybody, but other than the smell of peaches, I couldn't pick up anything else. And I asked if there was anybody around me and I didn't hear anything, but I could just So I thought it was a normal smell. And I was like, do you smell that? Smell the peaches? And they were like, no. So I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I got to smell peaches, but it was strong. And it was there for like 2 or 3 minutes and then it went away. But Claire Gustins is the most recent gift, one of the most recent gifts I've probably developed from the Clairs. I've had the taste of mints in my mouth and the taste of soap in my mouth. But those are my two experiences with Claire Gustins. That's a little bit more. And it's exactly what it is. That's exactly what you taste. I had the taste of mint in my mouth, that freshness. And with the soap, I had that bad taste of, have you ever had a cup of water where you didn't rinse it out properly and you could still taste the soap? But that's exactly what yeah, it's exactly what it's described is what you have in your mouth, the taste.
Then you have voices, so you may hear them speak to you in your own inner voice or a voice similar to that of the spirit. You may hear these voices internally or you may hear them externally. I had one of my, well, it was the most blatant one, but like the name calling before what we were discussing before, didn't realize that was spirit before. But my most recent experience, it was like so undeniable. And it was what I had thought was, one of my my first hearing externally experiences. That's how it's explained. Sitting in the dining room with my daughter in law, and we both heard a female voice. And I thought it was one of my nieces or something coming in from outside or about to come in from outside or whatever. No one came in. And after a few seconds, she was like, my daughter in law's like, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, "I thought it was only me." And she goes, "No, that voice was directly behind me." And there's nothing behind her. It's fully open. Like if someone was there, you'd see it plain as day. But yeah, it was just as if someone had been standing there and they said, "Excuse me," just like that. Then we both heard it. She told me, she was like, "I just heard a female voice." I was like, "Okay, I thought that was in my head." But yeah, that was the last experience that I had with stuff like that. And it was nice that someone else was there to confirm it because I would have thought I was just hearing things, that I mistook a noise from outside or something like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, that was directly behind me." She said it sounded like somebody was standing directly behind me when they
Mm-hmm.
said it. And I was like, "Yeah."
For me, I think this is my strong clear to hearing because if I remember, okay, my first time that I hear a spirit, it was when I have 20 years. I think so, 2019 or 20. And I still hearing a lot. Yeah, I think this is my strong clears. Um, one of my experience, a good one experience. And I tell you, it was I was watching TV and I hear someone to say me in a man voice, going to sleep. And I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything. I was like, is that real? Because I was watching TV and I hear for the second time going to sleep. And I was like this, like, I don't know how can I do that. But like I think 1 minute later I have to go on bed. And I don't know why. And I'm trying to go into sleep. And I was like thinking like I don't want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. I'm not feel sleepy. So like after 5 minutes, I feel something on my body. Like I feel my legs heavy. My body feel heavy. I don't know why. And I was so sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. And I have a dream. So that's happened to me 2 times in the same place in the living room, watching TV the first time. And the second time, it was reading a book. So I say, you know what? The 2 times that have happened to me, I was so relaxed. And I was, my mind it was clear. So I say, so that's happened to me when I feel relaxed. That's why they come in to talk with me. So I say, okay. So every time they talk me to do something, it's because I'm going to receive a message. So that's one of my good experience in a positive way
Mm-hmm.
because I have more, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it was my guide. I think it was my guide. After that, um, I have more experience with the spirit, and but I think this is my strong, clear hearing.
My first, I guess my first, what is it? Audio?
Clear audience,
I guess my first
audible.
experience, audible, there you go. I guess my first audible experience, was one of the nights we recorded. Um, I went to sleep and I felt something next to me in the room and it woke me up. And I got up, I went to the bathroom, and when I was coming out of the bathroom, I heard clear as day someone yell at me, a birthday. And they repeated this birthday to me like 2 or 3 times. And then right before I heard the birthday, I was hearing a song on repeat in my head. And it was Tell It to My Heart. And I kept hearing it, hearing it, hearing it. And then when I was coming out the bathroom, I heard the birthday shouted at me like 2 or 3 times. And then the song continued playing in my head and I went to sleep and I was like, wait, what just like I don't even know. I processed it, I think the next day, but I went to sleep a little bit scared. Because I was like, I'd never had anything like that happen to me yet. Well, until I heard the YouTube video where I realized that
Repeat that
my
part
name being
because
called
you
out was
repeat
I cut
that
out.
part because it whatchamacallit, you never had that happen to you before.
No, I'd never had other than someone calling my name in my house and me thinking it was one of my family members, which I didn't know had anything to do with this. Like I said earlier, I'd never had an experience like that where someone spoke to me like and this guy shouted at me. It was a male voice and he was very commanding. He was like for example, January 1st, and he was like very clear, very loud. And I was like, wait, what? But I was still, drowsy, from having woken up and I just went back to my bed and I was like, wait, what's going on? I burrowed up next to my husband and I sleeping. Next day, I stressed over it. Um, and that very same night, that very next night was where I heard same thing, but this one I felt a coldness on my arm. It was just full on coldness on my whole arm and part of my face. And this coldness um was like there, right? Like was like right next to me. And it woke me up. And I got up to the bathroom again, came back, um, laid down and I could still feel the coldness there. It was like right in my space and on my arm, and I could feel it like on my face. And they said to me the name Victor, but in the most eeriest voice. It was Victor. Like it scared the heck out of me. I'd never heard a voice like that, and let alone it being external. It felt like it was right next to me. And then the song Champion came on, which is a religious song, came on right afterwards. And it scared me to the point where I think I blocked myself again. I was like, I don't want to hear anything else. Because I didn't want to hear anything originally. I was scared of it. And when Ani was talking about it, I was scared of it. And then for it to go and happen to me, because it wasn't something that I wanted, I freaked out, especially with that eerie voice. I freaked out. And then from then on, I was actually confused and I doubted myself. I didn't know if really was spirit that was talking to me. I didn't know what it was. Like I was doubting the whole thing. And then I was scared of it at the same time. And then I was like, I put up a big do not disturb 24/7. Like I wanted the whole, yeah, like I shut that door and I didn't want anything more to do with it because they freaked me out big time. But yeah, those were my first two audible experiences.
Yeah. And then last on the list is you may feel them touch your skin. Or you may feel a change in your body temperature or room temperature. I've felt touch so many times, even to the point where I've like written it off, thinking, I don't know what I'm sensing. It's just in my head. It's in my head. It's in my head. And then it's just, but it feels like touch. The last one, that annoyed me and I felt so bad. The spirit kept touching my nose, like kept touching my nose and touching my nose all day long, to the point where I was like asking my husband, asking my daughter-in-law, asking my son, like, is there something on my nose? Something keeps like literal touch. And after from like 12 in the afternoon, finally at 7 o'clock at night, it was happening so much. I got frustrated. I was like, stop. And it stopped. They will listen to what you say. And, I just like rudely yelled it out, like, all right, stop. You're driving me crazy. And then I felt so bad afterwards because I realized like they were probably trying to communicate with me. And I probably like scared them off type deal. So I had to do whoever you were, I am sorry, when you're ready, come back type deal. And they were able to come back and I was able to finish that communication with them. Um, and it's crazy to even hear myself saying that because I was so terrified of all of this stuff. And
Mhm.
yeah, now I'm willingly,
More receptive to it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like I just mentioned, I get the cold sensation. I get it feels like there's a layer of something over my skin. It's usually in my left arm and my left hand. Sometimes it'll be both hands. I've been getting it more recently, like in my face. And then um I started getting tinglies, very subtle, very light tinglies. It started in one arm during a meditation. So recently I was doing a morning like a cleansing meditation and like a shield and protect meditation, which is real quick. I do it on my way to work every day. Um and I felt a tingliness like on my arm, on the top of my just on the top of my arm. And I knew it wasn't goosebumps because I could usually see my goosebumps. I look like a bald chicken. That's how dramatic they found grow up or whatever, however it's called. But I didn't have them. I just saw all, like if I had a little static, over my arm, and I barely have arm hairs. But I could see them standing up. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And then a few days later, it happened again during the same meditation, same almost in the same part of the meditation, actually. At the and it during the healing when I was doing green light. And then right after that, I started feeling it on the top of my head, like all in this area over here. And it's this weird, it's like you have a whole bunch of little ants just crawling on the very top of your hair. That's what it felt like. And it's a little creepy to me because I'm not a bug person. And that's what it feels like. Like there's a whole bunch of teeny tiny little bugs on top of your hair. Um, and then my most recent with the tinglies was on my leg. I felt the tinglies on my leg, and I felt someone pull up my pant leg. And I'm like, and I looked at my pant and it was literally up. It was pulled up. And I was driving. I was in my car. And I'm like, okay. I didn't imagine that feeling in my pants. It's still rolled up, like pulled up, just the front of it. So I went home, did my thing. A few days later, I felt a tap on the same leg and a little tingliness, a slight, very slight, subtle tingliness. So I tell Lenny about it. I'm like, Lenny, I don't know what's going on. Somebody's been like tapping on my leg because I can also feel physical touch from spirit. And I've mentioned it on prior episodes where I've had my hip grabbed and my hair parted. And then I'd had someone tap my left leg. So I tell Lenny, I'm like, Lenny, somebody tapped me on my leg. Somebody's been tapping me on my leg and they even pulled up my pant leg. And she's like, really? And she's like, I've had the same feeling, but I've had it for a couple of years now. And I'm like, well, who is it? What do you think it is? And she's like, I don't know. Like, we didn't know. And I've tried to, every time I felt it, I've tried to see if there's someone there. But other than that tingliness, I haven't been able to pick up anything. So I was trying out because I'm not a meditator. I've been trying to teach myself to meditate and to focus to get this, get myself on track. I was trying to do a meditation. I want to say it's a James Von Prague meditation. And someone came through in the meditation and I'd heard, okay, let me rewind a little bit. I'm sorry. Someone had come through for me as an adult and I identified who this person was through the questions that I asked. I felt his presence and I felt him there with me. And it was my very first, like, ongoing receiving a message, full on communication with spirit. And, he gave me a message, which I was able to give to the person. And at first, and I hesitated. I didn't even remember this, but I completely forgotten about it. But, for this, just right now, I don't know why I had erased it from my memory until right now. And I have it written down in my notebook for today. But, so I was able to give the message to the person. So he came through as a full-on male, a male voice and very clear and what he wanted to say and everything. And he was a little bit, he communicated with me in a way that I wasn't expecting. At the words that his choice of words was very funny to me and not sarcastic, but he had a sense of humor. And, so I was able to communicate that message to the person. So fast forward to, I'm talking about maybe a week ago or so, right? I think I'm sitting there again. I was eating a bag of chips in my room, and I felt it again, the tap on my leg. And I told Lenny about it again. And she's like, it's so weird, but I've always had it on my left leg. And I was like, that's the same leg. It's the same leg. It's the left leg. And we're like, who could it be? We couldn't figure it out. So I'm doing a meditation. I think it was a James Von Prague meditation. And someone comes through, but they come through as a younger version of themselves. And they tell me, they let me know. I saw a very grainy image of them. It was almost like looking at a very poorly, one of those old Polaroids that has started to go bad, like it's starting to fade, kind of like
Yeah.
that. And then I saw him as a young person, the same person, but as a young person, and I was surprised because when he came through and gave me a message, he came through as a full-grown adult. But I saw him as a young person, and he let me know that he's been the one that's been tapping our legs. So I was like, oh, and I haven't felt it ever since. So, but it's been a week, so we'll see how it goes on from here. But yeah, I can full on feel them physically, and I've got that new tingliness and the coldness. Those are my two ways of feeling them. But the tingliness is very, very, very subtle. I can it's almost, if I'm not paying attention, I won't be aware of it. It's getting a little bit stronger as time has gone on, but not by much.
Sometimes when I driving after work, I feel someone who touch my face like this, like this.
I've gotten that a
So
lot.
I was like doing, I feel something. It's me or it's someone, touching my face. So after the third time, I say, no, I know it's someone is with me in my car touching my face. But I'm not scared about that. But the first time it was weird because I was like,
Weird,
what
yeah.
is it? But um that's something very strong on me, like the spirit. I feel the spirit touching me. I feel the cold on my arms. When they come in, the first thing is I feel cold on my arms. And I feel it when it's going on my back because I feel the cold on my back and like how you say tingle,
Ah.
very strong on my spine, and I feel like it's coming like up on my spine. And when I feel it's in between of my shoulders, going up to my head, I say, someone is here. And I feel it very strong. And it's like it's like the spirit tried to come in your mind, inside your mind. And it's like when they share the the life and you can see that in your mind. So I feel when they touch me, I feel when they are very close to me. And sometimes they have to say something or show me something, or sometimes it's like I'm here and that's it. And but for me, it's very strong when the tingle is going on my spine. It's something that I don't know how can I explain. But weird,
Mm-hmm.
weird and strong. Too strong because when it's something like tingle, but it's something like electrical.
It feels
Like
like static is
it's like
what it
when
for
you
me.
put your finger on the when you're going to plug in something on the plug, if you put your finger there inside, like electric, that's what
It's
you feel
painful.
on your spine.
Is it painful?
No, it's something electric. It's like electricity. It's electricity on your spine.
But it's not painful.
No,
Okay.
no,
No,
no.
because like if I were to stick my finger in a socket, it's painful. Like the times I've gotten shocked, it's painful.
In my
That's why I'm trying to
experience,
clarify a little bit.
you can feel that it happened to the spirit, but they can hurt you. In some way, they can hurt you, but you can feel that happened with that spirit
Hmm.
because they want to show you what happened with them, to talk about, because they want to talk about that. It's just like they come inside you, part. That's what I feel in my experience. Um, that's the one of the strong clear on me when I feel the presence of the spirit. When they want to communicate something because they are around always.
Hmm.
But when they want to do something or to say something, I feel it. The presence is very strong. And I think it's depend about the spirit because um that I learned for James Van Prague, they say sorry, the spirit has to learn to communicate. So not all the spirit knows how to communicate. So sometimes they have a strong vibration, and sometimes the spirits they don't know how to communicate. So it's depend about the spirit too. So they try to learn like us.
Yeah. And then another thing that I heard from someone that I watched on YouTube, um, she explained that she calls them big spirits and little spirits. And she says big spirits are like gods and angels and those types of what is it called? The masters, the ascended masters.
Yeah.
Those are like big spirits. And then she says little spirits are like past loved ones, ancestors that lived a full life before they passed away. And she says it's kind of easier to communicate with them than it is with the big spirits, because for the big spirits you got to raise your vibrations a whole lot higher than you would for the little spirits. That's the way, I guess, a basic example was what she gave, and it's pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah. Most.
Sometimes they come in different forms,
Hmm.
different ways
Oh yeah,
because
that was the other thing she said. She said trees, animals, um, they all have spirit, like plant, all that stuff has spirits. So you could be connecting with those kinds of spirits also. And if you believe like in fairies and all that kind of stuff, then those are all different kinds of spirits that you might be connecting with.
yeah, I
And
have
those,
an experience last week. I was on my break and I tried to sit very close to the trees outside, to feel relaxed. And I say, okay, let me try to meditate just 5 minutes. I have 15 minutes on my break. So I don't feel the cold, but when I close my eyes, I saw a lady. And I was like, what is that? So she say, I know who you are. And I was like, she gave me an image. I don't know who is it. I don't know who was the lady because I never see her before, but when I say, what is that in my mind? Because I just closed my eyes like this and I saw the lady. So she say, I know who you are. And she gave me an image for her husband. And I was like, okay. So I was doing my service for that guy like 1 month ago, but that's not my resident, like normally. I was doing the apartment just because someone is sick. But I don't know why she coming to me and she gave me the image of the husband. And she gave me a picture. They are in the living room. So the next time when I'm going to the apartment, I saw the picture and I was like, it was her. But it was so funny because she say, I know who you are. And she gave me the image, but I don't know who is it. But when she gave me the image of the husband, I said, oh, I know. So it was the wife. And I was like, oh, okay, he's okay. Because I didn't want I didn't want to go to him to explain about my
Mm-hmm.
gift and everything. And I say, so I was feel spirits before in my work, but I'm trying to say no, I'm not here. I can't in here because it's a lot. I'm working. So they have to respect. But I don't know why I forgot to tell in the morning. I'm trying to protect in the morning. But sometimes I forget to say in work, not in here, because this is too much for me. So it's some different ways to feel the energy or different ways to see a spirit or receive the spirit or to receive the information. Sometimes you close your eyes and you have image. Sometimes they come in and you feel cold. Sometimes you feel, oh, sometimes you smell or you hear. So that's different ways they are coming to you. Because sometimes the spirits, um, they know what strong or what clear is strong for you or something like that. Explain that in English.
Which Claire you're strongest in?
Yes. Yeah. So the spirits, they have to study you before they come in to send a message. That's what I learned in James Van Prague books. So that's very interesting because you can feel with different clairs, but it depends too about your clairs or depends about the spirit.
It's
Both.
the balance of
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Hmm. Have you felt anything like that, Lynn? Or did you already?
Mine come through as tingles. Um, I've explained it like it, an electrical current of tingles. I don't feel the electricity. I just feel tingles. And it'll go from subtle to really strong, right across the back of my neck and between, like from shoulder to shoulder, in
From here
between
to here?
blades and across the back of my neck. When they're really strong, the tingle can start to feel like a burning, not a painful burning, but like it's so
You feel
tingly,
warm?
kind of like, huh?
You feel warm?
Not warm, but it
No.
just feels like it's like almost a burning sensation, like icy hot. You
Okay.
know, um the cold I started feeling, not I haven't started feeling it, I have felt it. I felt it on one occasion. And I asked Jeannie, I was like, "Is this what you feel?" And all I could explain was it felt like there was skin icy hot on my skin, like right above the skin, but it wasn't the hot part. It was just the cold part. And then, but on my neck, that tingly feeling will get like that little bit of that burning sensation from the hot part, the stronger the spirit is. Um, I had an experience where two came back to back. And the first one that came through, it was a moderate tingly feeling. I could tell someone was there. And then once the communication was done with that spirit, it felt like there was another spirit just standing there waiting for me to be done with the first one, for the other one to come running in. Jeannie was with me and she was confirming what I was feeling because she was saying it. She
Yeah.
was saying what was happening, and as I was feeling it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this isn't in my head. This isn't my imagination."
Yeah.
And that second person that came in was much, much stronger, and it went from that moderate, just tingling sensation to almost that burning, strong, tingling feeling. And sometimes I've gotten it full body. There have been a few occasions where I've gotten full body, but it usually just never gotten it up my spine or anything like that, just right across the back of my shoulders and neck. And
Right.
that's another thing, like everyone's gifts can manifest differently. Like
Yeah.
all three of us have expressed a different way that those sensations feel to us, how they come across to us. And
Exactly.
we've had confirmation that
Like
this
that
is what you're
same,
going to feel.
right. That same scenario she's talking about, or what's it called? Visitation or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That
guess.
whatever it is, um, while she's feeling that, I was feeling for the first one a coldness on my hand. When the second spirit came through, it got like really cold, like super, super cold. Like my hand almost felt, I want to say frozen, but just barely there, frozen. Like it was really intense coldness. While she's feeling tingliness on her end. So we had two totally different experiences with the same spirits. I'm just gonna let it be. No.
And we were able to, and it was good. That's another thing. Jeannie and I were able to confirm and affirm for each other what it was that we were feeling. And that helped us so much with our doubts about what it was that we were experiencing. Is this really happening? Are these real messages? And it just, and that's something that multiple mediums suggest. I know Marianne DeMarco does, James Van Prague does. And when you're first starting out, you want to practice with other people who can help confirm what it is that the messages you're receiving. So that way you get more self confidence and recognize when those messages are coming through.
Right.
Well, and that's the other thing. So me and Jeannie have been connecting twice. Like we've been, how do you say, we've been each other's sounding board with these things. Like,
Right.
I'm sensing something. Are you able to sense from where you are what's going on? And there have been times where I'm like, no, and there have been times like, yeah, there's definitely something going on.
Yeah.
So
In
yeah.
this last case, I was driving home from work and I could feel like my hand was cold and I could feel somebody in the car with me. And I started I don't want to say hyperventilating, but I felt like I was suffocating a little bit. And as I kept going, and I was trying to communicate, but I couldn't hear. Um, and I couldn't hear who was trying to communicate with me. And I don't know if it was because I was getting scared because I couldn't breathe. I got to the point where I couldn't breathe and I had to pull over. And I'm like, I grabbed the first person that I thought of was Lenny, and I grabbed my phone and I called her and I'm like, Lenny, I think there's a spirit here with me. I can't breathe. I told her, and I was like, but I can't hear who's here. I was like, can you help me? And she was able to communicate she was able to connect with the spirit all the way from Florida while I was in Puerto Rico, panicking in my car on the side of the road. But she was able to help me. She was able to connect. And then, like she said, once we were done with him, boom, another one came right through, and it was even stronger than the first one. It was just really, it was a weird experience, but thankfully she helped me through it. And we've been able to validate each other on two different occasions.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
been interesting in all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Very interesting. But I think they were needed experiences.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it didn't just validate, like, you were also validating me. Because, like, when I felt the first spirit leave, and I didn't say it, you said it. You were like, "Did they just leave?" And I'm like, "Oh my God," I was having that vision in my head, but I didn't say anything. And then you're
Then
like,
I felt,
you felt and I felt at the same time, and I didn't say anything. You're like, "Did somebody else just come through?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's what I'm feeling, like somebody's coming through." So, it was good to be able to validate one another like
Mhm.
like that. And so because of all of these little experiences, now I'm able to recognize it so much easier because I'm not trying to run from it. I'm trying to actually recognize sensations and things like that. So it's become easier and easier to identify things. Um, so some of the tips that we've gathered from all of the, experts, I guess you would call them, right? The professionals.
Yeah.
Um, they say meditation, obviously. Meditation is always recommended. The meditation in the case of mediumship helps you to recognize your intuition, raise your vibration so you can connect with them easier, because as we were saying before,
Mhm.
they're at a higher level, especially the ascended masters. They have to come down even further than the little spirits would to be able to connect with you. And so if you meditate and those types of things and you raise your vibration, it makes it easier to be able to connect with spirit. Practicing with someone, like we were saying earlier, someone who's preferably experienced. Me and Jeannie have each other, but we're on a learning journey. We've been learning and all of that. So we've been doing that, and it's helped to confirm and affirm, that the things we're feeling, experiencing, the visions we're getting are actually happening. They're not figments of our imagination. Energy clearing is really, really recommended and huge. Because you will take on energies, you will use a lot of energy and stuff like that. So trying to always have cleansed, clarified, clean energies, vibrations, and letting go of things that are not yours are really important. They're important for your physical, mental, and spiritual health. Um, Mediumship
Protection.
and intuition exercises.
Protection.
Wait, wait.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
Don't say the protection. For under
Oh,
meditation
for
protection.
oh, um, also when it comes to the energy clearing and the meditations, you always want to protect yourself, envision yourself protected in a bubble of protection or a bubble of light, protecting yourself around you.
Shielding you.
And when you do your energy clearings and stuff like that, you want to also remember, once you've cleared everything out, replace your protections or your energy protection bubbles and all of those types of things. Also, you can ask your spirit guides for protection when you're doing this. If you ask them, they will surround you with an energetic, protective field, so to speak, I guess.
Hmm.
So they're another, and I don't like to say the word tool, but they're another avenue of protection for yourself. Um, Mediumship and intuition exercises. Um,
Like the guessing game.
The guessing
You can
game.
do you can do the guessing game where give me a second because I forgot what it is. You can play the guessing game where you would ask people or the person that you're playing the game with random questions, and they would confirm everything you hit on, everything you got right. But they shouldn't tell you when you got something wrong, because that can create doubt and that can lead to blocking yourself from your gifts. You can also play the guessing game in the form of trying to guess what's inside of a place you've never been to, what the room's going to look like, or what the people are wearing, or where the chairs are placed, and that sort of thing. Those are different types of games or exercises that you can practice to develop your intuition. Because a lot of the communication and the channeling that you do with spirits and your spirit guides and angels is intuition. Like you lead, you're led by your intuition into understanding and discerning what is and what isn't, what they're trying to tell you. It's all intuition at the end of the day. So you got to use that discernment. You got to practice your intuition, develop it, make it stronger, and trust in yourself and believe in what it is that those messages that they're giving you. You got to believe in what it is that you're seeing and hearing and feeling and tasting and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
If it's something that you eventually want to develop to use professionally, they really recommend taking professional classes from a reputable person who has experience and success in helping others develop their gifts. They can tell you how to, how do you, all the technicalities and formalities. For instance, when a medium is doing a reading for someone, the person they're doing the reading for is called a sitter because they're sitting there for their reading. You'll learn all those little technicalities, the verbiage and stuff like that. Responsibilities of mediumship, ethical guidelines and stuff like that. When you should and shouldn't give messages and all of that good stuff. And then tailoring a technique to suit you. Like we were saying earlier, everyone's gifts manifest differently. Everyone, different vibrational techniques and stuff like that will jive with different people depending on their vibration and stuff like that. So just you want to take a little bit from everybody. You learn from everyone as much as you can, and then you take all of those pieces and you customize them to your own personal technique in a way that works best for the way your gifts and abilities manifest, if that makes sense. And remember, your experiences can range from subtle, delicate sensations, whispers of voices and stuff like that, to really intense, like Ani was saying, an electrical feeling. I was saying burning feeling. Not that it's painful, it's similar to those sensations. So not all of your experiences are going to be whispered quiet, and not all of them are going to be intensely loud. There's always going to be a spectrum, and it depends a lot on the spirit coming through to you. As we were saying earlier, one spirit came through subtly, the other one came through like a freight train, like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, that type of deal. So all your experiences, depending on the situation and circumstances, will be different. No two spirits are alike.
On our upcoming episodes, we'll be going over channeling tools and feng shui.
thanks for spending your time with us, and hope you will join us on another episode of Discovering Our Gifts. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons, and please remember to trust that process.